Hey, this is Dorleen Durham for Quick Quotes, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Powder Puff chalking inks, and then we're going to work on a little project using them. First, I wanted to show you this is our 2018 color collection, and what I really love about the collection is it just really is a tropical feeling. You see some little like oranges, definitely some of the teal blues, and green. So I just think they're so pretty. So this is a 2018 collection, and again, you can purchase them as a gift or individually. So what I like about these Powder Puff inks is they're a little bit different because of the way that they're made. They're small, they can fit into your hand, and they're also made so when you do your edging or any kind of inking, look at how convenient that is. A little place for your thumb, a little place for your fingers. Obviously you can hold it any way you want, but that just kind of gives you a little bit of extra or easier way to hold them and to use them. So today's project, we're actually going to make a card similar to this one. What I did is I used 3 different color inks, and then I embossed it with a embossing powder. And we used a little bit of vellum and stamped and inked on the vellum as well. So I'm really super excited about it because I think it's so pretty. We're going to do something a little bit different though. I'm going to do this one a little bit brighter, so make it a little bit more fun, I guess. So I'm going to stick with the 3 colors, which I'm going to use is Bermuda and Tropical Punch. And I'm still going to stick with that vanilla cream because I love that yellow. Yellow is one of my favorite colors. Okay, so what we're going to do, I've already, I'm going to use this on a standard card, which a standard card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I already cut is 4 inches by 5 1/4. So it's a quarter shorter than the card base. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with the lighter color first. Usually so what I'm doing is, again, holding it like this. And I'm just going to softly, start off soft, and then you can always add color. I'm just going to kind of like just rub it right on it. So direct ink to paper. See how it starts off really light. I want this to be bolder, so I'm going to put a little bit more pressure and rub that around. And I'm going to do about 1/3 of it. I mean, obviously there's no exact, you're not going to be upset and not going to ruin the card if you don't get exact 1/3, but we're using 3 colors, let's do 1/3 each. So I like that, a little bit darker. And then my next color is the next little bit darker, which is the Tropical Punch. And again, going to do the same thing. I like to hold it like this. Like I said, you can hold it any way you want, but either way, you can see how it just fits in your hand. It's just really well made. So now I'm going to stick with the next 1/3 of the card. I'm going to, same thing, just slowly rub the card. Sorry for my band-aid. I got a paper cut earlier. And I'm just going to overlap them a little bit so you get a smooth transition. And I'm just, again, rubbing it a little bit and kind of using a little bit of a circular motion. If you just go straight down, which you can tell I did it a little bit there, you get the impression of the ink pad. It's not going to ruin the card, but you probably don't really want those harsh lines. So I'm going to kind of rub that out a little bit. Again, keeping it pretty dark because I want this card to be brighter. Put this Bermuda on, you'll see the difference. So again, just going to kind of cover the remaining 1/3 and just rub over it a little bit. But I am definitely going to put a little bit more pressure because I do want this to be really bright. So I did the white embossing powder with that sample card, but this time I'm going to do it with a black. I just kind of want to see how it looks. I think it'll be kind of fun to see the difference, even though it's kind of the same card. It's just, I know it's going to look so much different. So again, what I did was, I have all my items right here. I don't know how many times if you've ever did embossing, but this is a little called Embossing Buddy, which I've had forever, and it's basically like a sack of powder, and it helps once you stamp your image. But when you stamp the image on here, when you put the Embossing Buddy on first, it prevents the embossing powder from kind of getting stuck where it shouldn't be. It'll just adhere to the Versamark or to the ink that you use. I haven't, anyhow, so now we're just going to stamp your background stamp, whatever that happens to be. I just happen to be using this, I don't even know what it's called, thread sketch, and that's a background stamp that I have in my stash. So I'm going to have my blog address on this video. You can please check back to my blog and find out all the pieces that I used. You can also go on the Quick Quotes blog, which is blog quick quote. Oh my goodness, it's not really a tongue twister, but for some reason it is for me today. Blog Quick Quotes. If you're interested in purchasing the inks or any of Quick Quotes products, that's Shop Quick Quotes. I just love those names because it just makes everything so easy. Okay, so now I'm putting the black oh my goodness, I'm getting really tongue-tied, embossing powder. Now of course you can just fill this whole thing up because we're going to put it back in the bottle, whatever's left over, but just kind of move it around a little bit, make sure that the image is all covered. We don't want powder where it shouldn't be. See that? I think I've got a spot right there that needs more embossing powder. Sorry about the heat tool, but I'll try to talk over it. So basically, if you've heat embossed before, you know how this works. It just kind of slowly move it around, and once it starts doing what it's supposed to do, you'll see it's, here it goes. The images start getting a little glossier, a little thicker, and you know all that embossing goodness is going to happen. Yeah, I can see it. Yep, here it goes. I think I actually like it better with the black embossing powder. But I'll show up both cards when we're done. It's kind of fun to experiment because your first thought may be to use a dark, and then when you try it with the light, it's amazing how it just gives you a completely different look. Alright, I think that's done. And it looks done. Let me return a little bit. I think there's 3 different colors on here. I think I'm going to edge it with the cool gray. This is well, it's a cool gray, so it's a dark gray, and which I like as an alternative from black. Now, since there are 3 different colors, I could edge really with any of these colors, but I think you'll see why, because I'm going to stamp the sentiment with the same cool gray. But I think that just ties it all together. So now I'm just going to edge it. I love, again, I love the size of these ink pads because it makes it so easy to just get that really clean edge. I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe when sometimes when you have a big bulky pad, you're doing this, and next thing you know, you've got a little bit of messiness, which is fine if that's the look you're going for. But if you want just a clean edge, which I really wanted with this one, it really makes a big difference. Okay, so that's done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp the sentiment on a piece of vellum. So this vellum piece is 1 1/4 inch tall, and it's from an 8.5 by 11 sheet. So it's 8.5 by 1 1/4, and I made it bigger, even though it's only going to obviously the front of the card, but this way I can fold it over, since we all know vellum, when you put adhesive on it, you can see through it unless you have a specific vellum adhesive, which I probably do somewhere, but who knows. I'm just going to stick to my my everyday adhesive. So you can see here with the sample card, I actually used the Purple Rain, which was this middle color here, and stamped right on there. And the thing that's great about these Powder Puff chalk inks is you can stamp on vellum or any non-porous surface just as easily as you could with paper or other porous surfaces. So that's a really cool thing. So here it is. I'm just going to do a little thank you card. So I'm going to ink my, so I'm going to just kind of eyeball the middle. Because again, I'm wrapping it around, so if I'm off, it's, you know, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm going to stamp. And it's a little crooked, but that's okay, because I do everything crooked. You will, if you ever go to my blog, if you read it, that's kind of one of my quirks. I don't like to do anything straight because I can't do anything straight. Even if I measure and I can even put little marks, I never seem to put things on 100% straight. It's kind of a joke in our house that I can't hang a picture straight either. So I don't. I mean, I do. I do in the first place, but they always seem to be a little off when you really look at them over time. But that's okay. That's kind of what makes us all a little quirky, right? Okay, so I'm gonna. I edged the edges. I didn't bother to do this side because I'm gonna wrap it and then I'll do the edge again. So now I'm going to determine, do I want it on the yellow side or the top? I think it looks better on the yellow side. So just going to kind of, like I said, eyeball the center, fold these over. And in the back, since nobody sees that, you know, obviously I can use a regular adhesive just to hold that down, which is my double-sided tape runner. Let's see. There we go. Now I'm going to add the color on the edges there. See how that looks. Oh, it's so pretty. Gosh, I love the way this ink looks on the vellum. It just has the softness. It's so pretty. Okay, and then that's it. Now I'm going to adhere it to my card base. So what I usually like to do, usually, you know, I'll just use my tape runner when I add things to a card front to a card base. But whenever I do anything like watercolor, or in this case, you know, the ink on the directly to the paper. Not that it warps the paper, but it, to me, it gives it a little bit of a shape. It's not as flat. So I like to use, you know, the thicker double-sided tape to adhere it, just because it gives it that little bit of extra hold. Don't necessarily need it. You know, any kind of adhesive that you use will work. It's allergies. Ugh. And again, just use a normal 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base, and then I'm gonna eyeball it, and there we go. So again, 2 different cards, but basically the exact same process, just different color palettes, completely different feel. This is very soft with the softer, not as much pressure, so you don't get the brighter colors. And then with this one, I did do it with more pressure, and I got the thicker, the more intense colors. Also, with this one, it was, this is a Purple Rain, Bermuda, and Vanilla Cream. And then this one I used the Tropical Punch. Yes, that's it. So that's it for today. I hope you have fun. I hope you get to experiment with some of these powder puff inks. They really are so versatile. And again, go to the Shop Quick Quotes store to purchase some, or go to the blog Quick Quotes and you can look at other projects that people do using the inks, or check out my blog at, it's a long one, craftsinthecommandcenter.blogspot.com. Have a great day. Bye.